For what it's worth, my monitor's still not working.
Oh, April hears me. Okay, cool. Can you see our video there too, April? I just want to make sure Zoom's working.
I think Ireland does not want to hear from us.
Oh.
We'll have to work on that.
Hello? I don't hear myself.
I mean,
The monitors aren't working.
I'm not sure why Ireland doesn't like us. We're such fans of a culture, you know.
Tap your thing.
Is that the who what?
No, that doesn't do anything. Just
I know.
tap your.
The bass is just wobbly.
Oh.
How about now?
Okay, I just want to see which one you are. Unmute it.
Unmute it.
Well, there's Kenny Flanagan.
How about now?
Yeah, you're working now.
But I'm not hearing anything off the mic,
Let me
off
try
the
this.
earbuds.
Hold on. Can you hear anything now?
I can hear it now. Like that. Okay.
Alright, did you lose yours? Can you still
It
hear
came back when you did that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I can, I can't really hear anything other than,
Okay.
what am I doing wrong? Oh, wait, I had a push button.
Can you hear it now?
I can hear it now.
That's because we found that button 2 weeks ago,
And this one.
and everybody pushed it before
This
you put
one's
it
just
away.
not working right. So. Okay, so welcome to the podcast again. Kenny Flanagan. Good afternoon. Got 3 people watching on Facebook.
Ireland doesn't like us.
No, it's not.
I love Ireland. I mean, do you know how many different types of ales they have there to try?
Yes, one.
Guinness?
No, that's
Guinness
that's a
isn't
stout.
an ale, yeah.
Holy delay on YouTube.
I mean, I drank every ale in Ireland.
Yeah, I think they actually have left tilted.
I love
Big
ales,
delay.
except for
Prevent,
IPAs.
stream snipers.
Oh, okay.
So,
I have no complaints about it.
That makes sense.
I prefer English ale over any other.
okay, so my mic is shot. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with that. This is the same one I used for gaming too. So I don't know why it's not working. So, what are we gonna discuss today?
2 EMTs got charged with murder.
Yeah.
Yes, we were.
So, if anybody has any feedback on that, kick something in the comments before we start discussing, the obvious, blatant disregard for human life.
Well, Auntie, I think you're still on the fence as to deciding whether or not there were paramedics there.
I think there were COs. They looked like COs to me the way they were treating the patient. I don't think they were treating them. Yeah.
Well, like I mentioned to you earlier about how stupid do you have to be that much of an asshole on tape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I actually got disgusted when I watched the way she was treated.
Yes. You've seen the video?
Yeah, I've seen the video. I've seen local level providers act similarly, even not with people in custody, with people for whatever reason that law enforcement's also involved. I've seen that recently.
Okay.
So,
For anyone who does not know what we're talking about, 2 paramedics have been charged with murder or whatever charge of, because
negligent homicide.
yeah, a patient died. They had the patient in prone position, and it was ruled a homicide because of positional asphyxia.
Yeah.
But the cops have it on tape where the guy was in DTs, and the cops have it on tape where they were being absolutely despicable human beings and not realizing that DTs is a life-threatening event.
I'm putting Kenny, I can't send the Zoom link. I'll try sending it to Facebook. But I'm not sure if our audio is particularly working Zoom like it did last time, so we're going mainly on text.
No, they were charged with first degree murder.
First degree murder.
First
Yeah, they're currently being held on $1 million bond.
We go back to Facebook. And
Yeah, there's really no way to spin that.
$1 million.
Well, the issue is, I mean, and again, I mean, I think with this one, it's apples and oranges. Is they've talked about, as Andy and I were talking about earlier, about they are criminalizing medical errors. That really wasn't a medical error, though.
Yeah.
Now, for years, though, we know
Medical error.
prone position was acceptable for years, and then they came out and said, you know, you've killed a few people. They do that every 5 years or so. They come out and say, well, you've killed people with this, so we're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, this clearly wasn't the medical error, and
No.
you know,
Now, when you make a conscious decision to put your
I
patient
call it a
on
hot take, but that whole ketamine fiasco in Chicago last year was not a medical error either. EMS providers have absolutely no business doing law enforcement's job for them. None whatsoever.
Chicago or Colorado was that one?
Colorado, what? Yeah, it was Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. Chicago. Now, here's the thing, though. At what point do you decide to sedate a patient for your safety as the provider versus cops telling you, look, we need this guy sedated?
That's the thing. If it's for my safety and the patient's safety during transport, is one thing. If a cop directs me to sedate somebody, no,
I'm not doing it.
it's not EMS's job to do the cop's job for them.
If they're
Yeah, you want them to do? You have steel for that. Do it.
if they're agitated delirium, you know, if you're treating them under a treatment protocol for a diagnosis, that's one thing. But just sedating somebody because they're not comfortable dealing with the patient, completely different. And that's what makes people miss diagnoses too. Is, well, we're gonna say this guy because he's agitated delirium. Well, let's see, is he actually agitated delirium, or is he got another manifestation of a symptom of something else going on? You know, delve into it before you give that medication. Which I've given plenty of ketamine, but usually the people that are getting ketamine from me are also getting either our side or our so
Right.
so, but it is a great pain management tool used at that dosage level. So, you know, the fact that there was also a case out there with overdosing somebody with ketamine way beyond the dosage. Like, the dosage you would use IM, they gave IV, which is,
Well, there's a problem.
That's the problem, education problem. And this just culture thing, I'm a big fan of just culture. But sometimes they need either more than education, or they need to be out of the business completely. You know, if they're making errors to the point of giving Vectoronium instead of Versed, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I think we're going to open up a different can of worms when we start talking about that.
Yeah. Any nurses
That's
on
gonna
here?
come back to, that's going to come back to somebody's FTOs.
My monitor shut off again.
That's a whipping people out on the street.
Yeah. The mic's still working. I can see the levels. But
Only a few units in Montgomery County carry and use ketamine. Has to be 2 medics who are trained to administer. Well, it's good that you guys have that, but they're only allowed to use it in Pennsylvania for agitated delirium. They're not allowed to use it to sedate somebody prior to intubation, and that's been getting fought for 5 years now. So
I wish we had it for that. Only intranasal.
it's back. No, it was back for a second. Now it's gone.
I think the other issue is that nobody's talked about is how often when I say we, I mean EMS in general, we blow off, and not just EMS, healthcare, we blow off alcoholic patients as just a drunk.
And I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the CWA score. We used it in Alaska quite often because it was something that we dealt with quite often. It was alcohol withdrawal. Because you got people in villages that are dry that weren't allowed to legally have alcohol, and they'd make it with their own home brew using anything they could find, similar to what certain soldiers may have done.
Good old prison.
But,
It's just called good oral hygiene when you're
Yeah.
drinking scope.
oh no, this was more than scope. They were
No, we're
ingesting
talking straight up prison
their
punch.
Nice.
dangerous crap, and it would put their alcohol level sky high. of a sudden they'd be out, and they'd go into withdrawal so bad that I had a couple of cases that we ended up having to RSI them. That's how bad they were
Yeah.
with their symptoms because of inability to control their airway, visual and audio hallucinations going on. There's something called a CWAS score that they use in facilities to score how severe this alcohol withdrawal is. And it's a true medical emergency when they have a high score. So,
Well, DTs have a very high mortality rate. But, I mean, how many times have we heard healthcare people go, oh, well, he's just a drunk?
yeah. Well,
I mean, slurred speech, take a refusal. You know, we were talking about refusal last week, slurred speech, because take a refusal, well, he's just drunk.
I just want to interject with some levity. When I hear people say, I thought he was just drunk. I thought they were talking about me.
well, a couple FTOs in that one. The thing is, they're just drunk, and I'll give you a case that we had where we got called by a nurse practitioner to pick up a patient because they were drunk and needed to go for detox. We get there, and the patient's symptomatic of something. Do we know that it's alcohol withdrawal? Well, if we take the nurse practitioner's word for it, yeah, it's a drunk patient. We decided to pull ISTAT labs, and the patient's K was less than 2.
Well, there's a problem.
So we had to initiate our hypokalemia protocol and start giving potassium on the way to the facility. And as soon as this potassium came up to norm, a day or two later, the patient was fine. But
Nobody bothered to look for horizontal nystagmus.
no.
And for anybody who doesn't know, their lab values 3.5 to 5 is your normal potassium level. So 2 is kind of a little bit bad.
Mm-hmm. And it's more dangerous than hyper in my eyes because it takes longer to fix. You can give potassium really, really fast and replace potassium really fast. But in certain states it's not allowed because, you know,
No,
they've,
you cannot.
they've said
You
that,
cannot
you know,
give
you're not allowed to do death
potassium.
penalty. That's one of the chemicals they use in chemical death penalty. Give potassium really, really fast. You just take your patient.
Let me just inject this nicotine.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
100 milliequivalents over about 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's, ow.
Slam push.
Don't worry, the burning will stop, sir. The burning will stop.
Eventually, with a little bit of chest pain, and then it'll be all over. It'll be fine.
Yeah. And I hope you guys don't mind us doing a podcast while we're eating pizza. We're just here to relax.
You should probably get used to it.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. And I mean, this is, okay, personally, I mean, I think the interesting thing is how judgmental we are about our patients. And alcoholism is one of the reasons that it always amazes me that healthcare professionals think we have the moral high ground to judge our alcoholic patients.
Yeah.
You know, really? I mean, the only reason there are alcoholic patients is because they don't know how to start throwing IVs or have somebody else push Zofran on them, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes them a patient, is there's nobody else to treat them other than us.
I don't know why you keep looking at me when you're talking about this.
Well, you know, Bob, it's just natural way to look. But
First of all, it's illegal when you get caught.
self-medicating.
I'm just saying, if other people haven't mastered the bleary-eyed method of driving home, that is not my fault.
There we go. I just actually, sorry to cut you off. I shared what April White shared was a link to look at the CWAS score.
Are you sure she didn't send like the link to discover JoJo Siwa?
Maybe, I don't know. Did you, April?
I know she typed something.
Did we get the monitor situation figured out yet? I still got nothing.
It keeps going off and on for
I
you.
don't understand.
Where's all our sound effects?
I know, right?
We only come here
You're
with
kind of
sound
a
effects.
sound guy.
Any come through?
Yeah, now I hear it.
You have it now?
I have it now.
I think I have to play with some stream settings.
Well, again, back to the whole. I was teaching ACLS the one time, and it was a group of healthcare professionals, no one brand new. You know, you had a PA, a couple nurses, some paramedics, the whole, you know, mixed bag. And the one nurse who probably weighed a good 300, 350 pounds, she makes the comment that she doesn't think, I'm not looking at you, Bob. She made the comment, well, he just looks over at me. So she made the comment that we shouldn't have to push Narcan. Can nobody hear me?
I'm looking at
What the hell are you doing?
What?
You just killed my sound again.
I'm fixing things.
Oh, good.
Breaking the universe.
Well, she made the comment that, you know, we shouldn't give Narcan to people because they do this to themselves. At which point I made the comment, I said, well, then perhaps we shouldn't do CPR at all. She goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, most cardiac patients do it to themselves. She goes, how do you figure that? And I said, well, lack of exercise, being overweight, McDonald's. And she got all offended. She goes, well, wait a minute. That means you wouldn't be treating me. And the one PA's like, that's her point. You know, 98% of us are going to die from something stupid we've done to ourselves.
Yeah.
So why are we judgmental about one thing and not about another?
Do you know why? Because as a species, we are inherently lazy. That's why.
Oh, nature's lazy. Path of least resistance.
And you know who made up that rule? Lazy guy.
Well,
I got your blue ball working, by the way.
Huh?
Your blue balls are working. Is working.
is blue balls?
Yeah, they're working.
That sounds like a personal problem.
I thought the VA fixed that problem.
I'm seriously not hearing any sound effects from you.
I know. I'll place.
I'm not even getting anything.
We need sound effects.
They're not coming through the monitor, but they're coming through the stream.
So in other
Does
words,
that mean our listeners and or viewers are getting the sound effects?
Yes.
they're getting a better experience than we are.
According to the computer that's telling you.
Yes,
to go
true.
over there.
True.
I mean, this is the whole, you know, time and date sequence thing is off, so now I can't talk to anybody a click away, but we can talk to somebody on the moon in 1969. So we're back at that whole discussion again.
Well, let's be honest. This little device here is, you know, more powerful than how they landed the guys on the moon. And, you know, I use it to play, you know, word games with, you know, or Sudoku or something.
Is it an iPhone?
No, it's an Android.
Damn it. If you had an iPhone, you could text message games to people.
Are we awake?
Yes, and I just got my microphone working, so I figured out what the problem was with mine. Okay.
It's literally just, you think you should drink all that coffee? That's for a 12-hour shift, bro. I can't do this all in 3 hours. Well, I mean, I could, but I'll have to get a new cardiologist.
All right, well, we need somebody to liven this up.
Okay.
All right, so 2 emergency responders going to a bar the other day.
Kenny, can you hear us all right? And the sound effects? He must be sleeping.
Listen, I got involved with the whole I survived the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. They were doing a live like merchandise drawing thing, and I was half asleep. And whatever happened, the guy was like, "Oh, I just announced who you are," and I must have fat fingered like the screen or something as my eyes were closed and I was going off to Sleepyville because the guy was literally like, "Bob Sheridan, what's up?" And I'm like, what? Or maybe it was just a plot to see who was actually on the screen. I don't know. Because he suckered me into buying like $15 worth of merch. I just want to see if I won something.
Kenny's driving, so he can't tell me whether or not he can. He can't tell me if he can hear me or not because he's driving, but yet he's typing, he's texting Oh, you can hear us guys just fine. Okay.
That's safe.
So you can't hear us because you're driving, but yeah, you can text. That's good. You hearing the sound effects too, Kenny? I'm meowing for you.
I miss the sound effects.
Are we allowed to start bringing up cat noises to Kenny? Is it still too soon for that? Or?
It might be, but too late.
I miss sound effects. They help. I miss the sound effects.
There, I got the.
Tell you, we gotta put carpeting up on this thing, man.
Yeah, I know.
All right, I'll start going to Ollie's next week.
Okay, so what we gonna talk about next? We all decided that, that lady was a total bitch. Paramedic.
You can hear the sound effects, Lauren, I guess. And so, here's us. Here you
Hi,
go.
Lauren.
Cool. So, what else do we want to talk about? Traumatic cardiac arrest.
Here we go.
Dr. Bledsoe just published something that, was published 20 years ago, and it's just republished again.
Does that count as retweeting? Is that in the same category?
Maybe.
Okay, I'm just gonna start by saying that I worked with a trauma surgeon in Florida who he did not believe we should work any traumatic arrests because his view was, as I'm Jewish, as far as I'm concerned, resurrections never even happened once.
Well, there's a little bit of bias there then.
He was like, just,
But, yeah, there's a little bit of bias there. Well, and it's interesting because 3 or 4 years ago, there was a podcast out there with a clinical review of a case where a hunter had fallen out of a tree stand, and his kids went to get help. When EMS got there, the patient was deceased, meaning they biologically were dead, because they had no pulse, no palpable pulse, and they were not breathing on their own. And it prompted a response of, let's do a bilateral decompression, and they got pulses back in the patient. So there's something called the HOT protocol that I've seen multiple places where before we even do compressions, we will do ensure they're not hypothermic, ensure there's no hemorrhage going on, make sure that they have a patent airway as far as no crush injuries, that they can get air in and out, tension pneumo treatment, and tamponade treatment. So,
if you're wrong, they're dead. You didn't make it worse.
yeah. So do we push for providers to do that before they even start compressions and giving ACLS drugs? Yeah.
Well, let's look at modifying battlefield protocols from the continued wars. I guess are over now. So
Maybe.
discontinued?
Maybe.
From the discontinued wars.
Now they're covert again. That's when my mic wasn't working.
So, moving back to that whole thing real quick. When we started pushing the issue of looking at people with traumatic arrests on the battlefield, one of the things that we started doing was the bilateral decompressions in the hopes that maybe we could get some kind of a palpable pulse or signs of life or anything. So I think that kind of influence from 18 years ago or 20 years ago, however long it's been now, I think that helped influence this current generation of EMS folks out there to sit there and think, you know what, maybe that just might work. And maybe it will.
Yeah.
Maybe it won't. What's the worst thing that happens?
You don't get it back.
Still dead.
Dead is dead. But are they dead if their heart's still trying to beat? And I mean, unless you give ultrasound to every single provider out there, you're not gonna be able to tell. So,
Well, shit, why don't we just crack their chests and do ECMO and all this other stuff? And
if we're in England,
nobody has these kind of resources, and
Yeah.
nobody's going to be that close to definitive surgery. So,
Yeah.
unless it happens right across the street from a hospital,
Yeah. Well, and I've had a couple of calls, one around here that you had to come out to, where the patient, before they were even extricated, had stopped breathing and lost their pulse, and prolonged extrication, and most of the blood volume was sitting in the floorboard of the car. Do we do anything for them? No. I called the doctor to say, hey, this is what's going on. I'd like to pronounce. Did I need to? I probably didn't need to, but I wasn't on the truck. I was calling as a BLS provider. So.
Well, again, I've always said for years, whenever teaching ACLS, personally, you know, again, I always think that we start thinking about the H's and T's way too down. We're always, you know, people are always like a few rounds of drugs down in a code before they go, hey, why are we here? And we should probably start talking about it right at the beginning as to what was the cause of this cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's trauma or medical, what is it? And, you know, Bob and I've had that debate about, actually, kind of a fight the one time about Narcan and cardiac arrests.
Keep it civil.
And because he says it's not in protocol, not ACLS, and my argument is, but the H's and T's tell you to look for reversible causes and treat.
But what is the reversible cause from an overdose that causes a cardiac arrest?
Well, his big pet peeve, and I warn the students about this, is if you give Narcan before you bag, do not tell that man about it.
Yeah, well,
Sodium bicarb they have.
the reversible cause at an overdose, and this is my opinion, the reversible cause is hypoxia. So,
Hypoxia.
you know,
But, you know, again, like I said, it's my attitude is by the time you're working a code, throw it against the wall, see what sticks.
The last time I used bicarb, speaking of bicarb, on a cardiac arrest, I used it within the first 5 minutes of the arrest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's effective.
Because the guy was
It works.
acidotic, and I knew he was acidotic because, you know, you do that nifty thing that you do with the family and ask questions, and the fact that he's an insulin-dependent diabetic and hasn't had it in 2 weeks.
But like, here's the thing, when it comes to
Well,
bicarb,
you did that and you gave a whole crap ton of glucose.
the last code I brought to regional, the doctor, when I rattled off all the drugs, he looked at me, he's like, is there anything left? I'm like, no, I get, and the one, you know, the one EMT sent me, she goes, you're only the second medic I've ever seen give bicarb. I'm like, I love bicarb.
What am I?
it's got its
Holy crap.
it's got its places,
That's all I give is Benadryl and bicarb.
and the as far as reversing acidosis, if you're absolutely positive that that's the cause of the arrest, and it's going to help. The thing you have to watch out for with bicarb is giving the right amount, because we always underdose everybody.
Never have enough.
You know?
1 milli equivalent per kilogram. So if you're treating the average American who weighs $110, you're fine.
Stand by critical care. We're going off of basic street medicine here.
Yeah, that's all right.
No. Just because you have your little Dexter Laboratory pocket playset thing going on, it doesn't mean everybody else has it. We're not going to, and no, I'm not carrying it. Why? Because the feds say I don't have to. So,
My point is, people don't also understand that bicarb is very unstable.
yeah.
So when you push bicarb, especially if you underdose it, the efficacy of it is going to be greatly diminished, because the chemical reaction that happens instantaneously is going to convert a lot of it to CO2. It's not going to stay bicarb.
That's why when you're baking biscuits,
Yeah.
you have to put them in the oven immediately.
Yes. Yeah.
If you wait an hour, they're not going to rise.
No, because it's flat. and guess what? It tastes chalky.
He made the garlic cheddar biscuits last night. They were excellent. They were excellent.
I hope you use the aluminum-free stuff.
I wish
When
Kelly
did this
had,
go off the rails?
Kelly had the. Oh, mate is laying down. Okay.
Well, back to what you were saying. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure, sir. it is important to pay attention to the milli equivalents that you're given, but I think we're going with the old adage of, well, some is better than none.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue I have with that is sometimes the little bit is gonna have no efficacy at all because it's gonna be CO2.
Well, it's a garden hose versus a large national forest brush fire.
There you go.
So back to traumatic arrests. As far as the last 2 traumatic arrests I worked, we did bilateral chest decompressions. What's the? There's another part to it though. There's other things to consider, like for example, the Gift of Life program. You know, if you're on scene and you're on scene that's not stretched for resources.
Yeah.
That's the key. You're not stretched for resources.
Okay. I'm going to interject with this caveat. You and I both know, and a lot of folks with common sense know that if you're going to be that damaged enough to the point where your heart stops on scene and you are now a traumatic arrest, the viability of those organs in terms of salvageability, we've already gone minutes into the.
That's my question. I mean, how much of? Yeah,
I got you. All right, so we're going to try to mirror the whole NHS from England, and we'll have street side ECMO, surgical, cadaver suites, and all that.
why not?
I'll tell you, Mike Bill's paying for it. I'll tell you, not this taxpayer. I don't even want to pay the taxes I'm paying now.
You pay taxes? Oh shit.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I thought you guys said pay taxes.
And somewhere an IRS agent's ears just perked up.
Because they've been doing that for years.
You hear the automatic gunfire next door?
Yes, we were discussing that on the way in.
That's not the automatic. The automatic was earlier. The earlier you heard an AK going, rocking.
Yeah, they probably have one of those binary triggers.
No, he's got tax stamp up there.
Yeah? I told you I wanted to go hang out with them.
Well, you can go with me when I go to reading the riot act about how much tannerite they blow up, because it spooks my horses. And then I get calls from 3 miles down the road. Hey, what was that going off?
Have you considered getting your horse's earmuffs? It might be a cheaper solution than putting insulation on the bar. I'm just saying.
True.
Whatever. Sign me. Because if they're that crazy enough that they're going to blow up a crap ton of tannerite, I don't really think they give 2 shits about his opinion. There's a really good chance they might go all Waco, Texas on us. Or is it still too soon for them?
No, we're good. Remember Range Control coming to rip me a new one for how much we blew up on the range down there.
That was none of their damn business.
Yeah. So what's another good topic that's out there? Anybody have any?
To go back to that other topic, though, here's the thing you were just thinking about, like plural, about not just cardiac. Yeah, it's been a rough week, COVID. It's been a very rough COVID week. But hey, I got COVID this week finally, but I got it from a very interesting case. Okay, so anyways, but I mean, cardiac tamponades. Not allowed to do them anything in the field.
We can give them, we just can't.
We're allowed to give them, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and that's why was pericardiocentesis removed from the scope of practice years ago? But yet nurses can do it.
But they're not doing it in the field.
No, flight nurses are allowed to do it.
Okay.
Why can paramedics
What are
not do
the
it?
circumstances under which they are doing it? On the bird or before you load?
Either way, they should be doing it before they load.
Right.
Should be.
Because in most of your transport compartments, there's not enough room to even do chest compressions.
Yes.
And they're not doing it under ultrasound, right?
No.
No.
So
Well, I
They're
mean,
going off the old line of sight method.
well, that's just it. I
And
mean,
maybe the electrode method too.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
aim towards the left shoulder or keep pulling back. I mean, again, once the person's in cardiac arrest, how much worse can you make it?
Yeah. That's a whole other huge argument that I have with I'll just leave that one alone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I shut my mouth.
But and that's the thing too. Bilateral decompressions. A couple of us have had to do bilateral. We had a patient in White Mills we had to do bilateral decompression on years ago, and wrap his chest in saran wrap because of all the stab wounds.
Yeah.
But why can we not do finger thoracostomies in Pennsylvania either? But
Because we're not in the Korengal Valley.
other states are doing them. They have in their protocols. Finger thoracostomies, simple thoracostomies, and like in Alaska, which is a different story, we just put chest tubes in.
Sorry, you say a different continent.
No. We weren't in Russia.
Where I texted you the other day that a guy called, some patient called because, he had a chest tube that was draining.
Yeah.
And as I texted Andy, I said, should I tell him what the purpose of this? He canceled. I guess he Googled it and figured out, oh yeah, my chest tube is supposed to be draining.
But I was told you could see Moscow from Sarah Palin's house.
No. Only the liberals want you to believe that.
Ooh, we're going down a slope here.
Funny you would mention the slope, considering the time of year it is. Might be able to walk across it by now, maybe. I don't know. Are they having warm, temperate weather as we are?
Hey,
Siberia was like -50
other
the other day.
states utilize
About
the
Siberia? All they can say is prisoners and Mongols.
And,
Mike made a good comment. Mike Procopa, by the way.
hi, Mike Procopa. We love you.
Mike Procopa.
Other states realize the year starts with a 2. Pennsylvania's still in the 90s.
1890s.
Yeah, right.
So,
It's like the interesting thing is though, you just look at the regional councils. Well, one regional council here will let you do, and other states don't even have these things called regional councils. They recognize a state is, we don't need so many layers.
The fact that we're still using a regional council system attests to how long it takes to make any kind of forward progress in terms of pre-hospital treatment. Because we're going back to like fiefdoms and county methods of doing things. So we're relying on one person to make the decision for everyone.
A fiefdom, I like that. You don't use the word fiefdom enough in the average conversation today.
And Pennsylvania is a great place to do that because it angers people.
well, and an example of someplace that uses the regional councils the way that they should be getting used, New York State, right across the border, 3 miles from here. They still have regional councils. Protocols are written by the state. However, the regional councils control the formulary and certain levels of intervention at certain levels. Like, for instance, Delaware County, Broome County, all those up in that region. And their REMSCOs, Regional Medical, I can't remember what it stands for. But they give you command too. So you get your paramedic through the state. You're not able to practice as a paramedic until the region gives you command number, similar to what we have here. But there, you're actually tested by physicians. The physicians are writing those formularies. And so progressive state in some aspects, because like they're carrying the Levofed, they're allowed to do interventions way before we're allowed to do them on the Pennsylvania side. Shit, when we were still carrying Bertilium on the truck, it had been long pulled out of the box in New York State. Aging myself now, Bertilium, our protocols.
Okay, let's look at the hardcore facts of that, though. When New York ran out of Bertilium, yes, Pennsylvania still had some because we were 30 years behind them. So we still had 30 years worth of Bertilium. So
Yeah,
Yes, that's perfectly logical. I think the fascinating thing when you look at different about medicine is if medicine is supposed to be evidence-based, why does the evidence in one state not apply to the evidence in another state?
Exactly.
Like, why? Well, money's the bottom. But I mean, honestly, it's this poor man has had to hear me argue about why I don't have stuff around here that Okay, my guy the other day who I got COVID from. If you're gonna get COVID after 3 years, I got it from a good patient. Okay? And it wasn't him. No.
Okay.
It was your average call where the guy started with COVID, took Motrin, turned into syncope, causing a head injury, leading to anaphylaxis followed by an NSTEMI. Your normal call.
You're run of the mill.
Yeah, right? But now here's the thing, like I said, Pepsid. Histamine 2 blockers. That was standard in Florida that you'd hang a histamine 2 blocker.
Military. I remember Carl Reese schooling me on that. Every time you
Yeah.
gave Benadryl, you would give.
Too.
One and H2 blockers.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, my sister Teresa, a few years ago, she called me. She had some allergic reaction. She was one giant hive. And she took some Benadryl, it didn't work. And she calls me. She's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Calamine lotion? I told her, well, I said, go to your hubby's medicine. He has GERD. I said, take Pepsid, something for his GERD. Take it. She's like, I'm not having stomach problems. I was like, just trust me. Like an hour later, she calls me back. She's like, how'd you do that? I'm like, magic.
You ever seen the series Once Upon a Time?
I mean, the states have in the federal system, the states have autonomy when it comes to regulating their own departments of health. A perfect example of that is the fact that currently American Heart Association guidelines for the treatment of suspected acute coronary syndromes states that you're to withhold oxygen until the patient's O2 sats drop below 92%. And the Pennsylvania Department of Health refuses to acknowledge that, and it's not in anyone's scope of practice to do it that way.
Well, they did update it in 2021 protocols to say 95 is the cutoff.
Right.
So
they actually at least acknowledged it. in the
Yeah,
protocols,
yeah.
But yeah, current guideline says to withhold oxygen until 92%.
yeah.
So that's same for a stroke.
Yep.
Um,
Anything ischemic,
yeah.
except for a head injury. That's
I remember the old days where everybody got, a non-breather at 100%.
Last week.
Right? But it's, I mean,
Oh my God! You have to go for an MRI on your toe. You put this mask on you.
it's, like I said, it's Pennsylvania. When I started working back in EMS in this area in 2015, and I kept saying, could we do the men's class? Could we do the men's class? Could we do the men's class? And, people blew me off, like they blew me off, 3 years ago, and I was warning about this little bug out of China. And when we finally went down and took the men's class again, which in Florida I had done in 2000, was an instructor for them in 2000, and I'll never forget Beverly and Maureen, and I adore Beverly, from the nurse, Miss Beverly dearly. And we're teaching it, and Beverly and Maureen are taking the class, and it's like late 2019. They're like, this is fantastic. This is going to be a game changer. I'm like, yeah, you want to know when we started this in Florida? 20 years ago. And they're like, so we really are 20 years behind the times? I'm like, at least.
That's why the M stands for Miami.
It was like, at least. But everybody was like, this is a game changer. I'm like, no, it was a game changer 20 years ago. Now it's just called standard of care, which we just aren't doing.
Oh my God, it's 74 degrees up here with that heater downstairs.
Well, it's so weird that you have these strange, east and west facing portals.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you how to live your life.
I-
I'm saying.
I'm sorry. I'll put the prayer rug back down.
Yeah, damn straight you will. You gotta kneel on something. Remember, supported firing position.
Yeah, and Mike said, state EMS board and let's just license paramedics. Well, that's my view on that is a big misconception that giving somebody a license is going to eradicate some of those scope issues. Because I got licensed in a state that was a state medical board, and they just reverted back to certifications, but the scope didn't change. So where does the autonomy lie? Do you have to have a license to be autonomous, or can you be autonomous with a certification? I think you can do it either way. So They like to tell everybody the reason we don't get paid that much is because we're not licensed. No, that's the reason we don't get paid that much is because we don't get reimbursed that much. You know.
Yeah, the reason we don't get paid that much is because we're not real people.
Yeah.
No. Again, and the other thing I'm going to say about why EMS, because for some reason, we, as a culture, we have accepted that we are not worth much. We've accepted it. I've heard people stating recently that one agency had been paying too much, and it kind of serves us right.
I just have to throw it in there.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like literally, like we're not allowed to expect more for our skills, our knowledge, our education. And I mean, and here's the sad part is, I mean, they go, well, you guys, you go and do this for free then when you leave here. For how many people volunteer? And volunteering is something, when you volunteer in anything, you're giving something back to your community. And that's something that should be applauded, regardless of what type of volunteer work you do. But why an EMS has been used to lower our value?
Mm-hmm.
Or people go,
No,
people do this for free.
There was a good question that somebody posed, or a poll that somebody posted on LinkedIn the other day. Tim Nowak posted it.
Tim Nowak?
Nowak.
Nowak, I was going to say Nowak. Is that a real name?
Nowhere.
Nowak,
And
okay.
his poll was, should volunteer-only providers be expected to be less skilled than career providers? And my answer to the poll was no. Because that's, when you get a certification or a licensure, it's not looked at where you're applying the knowledge and the skills at. It's a certification level. Everybody should be the same across the board. Now, does your experience level get exponentially greater when you're working as a career provider? Yes. But that's not saying that the scope should be different for volunteer providers and career providers.
The knowledge base is the same.
Yeah.
Again, but it's also, okay, when you say experience, I always liked when you met that person who worked, from the time that they joined or the time they were hired on, and I can think of some Florida departments like this. They got hired on and they immediately got sent to the retirement station where they ran like one call a shift, in 24 hours, and they're like, oh, I've done this job for 15 years. You're like, I did your 15 years of experience in the last 3 weeks at my station.
So have you done the job for 15 times 1 year? Have you done the job for 15 years?
Yeah, it's and that's the thing where again, a lot of it is different experience. Like I said,
This station where they do like one call a shift, do they have good HMO benefits?
April, if you're still on, I think we're talking about Jeffersonville. I don't know.
I mean, I'll show up for gas money at this point.
well, here's the thing though. There were supposed to be a reason that they called them retirement stations. That after you were already beaten into the ground.
Oh, here's Maggie. She's on
And
there.
Maggie?
Yeah.
Maggie Stone?
Yeah.
Hi, Maggie. Andy has a bunch of dogs here. We were playing with Maggie. You would love them.
Reminds me of the time I asked for a reasonable raise and was given a case of beer instead.
Oh, where's that? Where's that?
No, right? You were given beer. Wait a minute.
Wait, hold on. What type of beer?
I was gonna say, was it crap beer like PBR? PBR is an insult.
It's a dirty 30 and natty ice.
But something good?
You're jealous? She's jealous of the dogs, I think, not of the beer. But
well, no, she got the beer.
Genesee Cream Ale.
Oh God. That sounds like there's fishing involved.
And some NASCAR.
Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with that. Give me some free service. They don't do that anymore. I hate this planet.
La Quintas? Where was La Quintas at? La Quintas.
Lagunitas?
Lagunitas.
Lagunitas. Okay.
Yeah, it's decent.
That's a brand.
Is it?
Yes,
Oh.
it is.
They make a lot of shandies, which I can't stand because there's too much fruit in them.
Okay, actually, Maggie, honey, Speaking
just
of beer,
flavorful
okay,
fun.
I gotta tell a great story here that it's not making fun of your beautiful second half. I adore Sophie. We love Sophie to death. But when Maggie's fiance visited from Ireland, they show up at our house and the girl's Irish. She brought her beer, Coors Light. And we were like, what? She's like, what? This is top beer in Ireland. Why? Because it's imported there. Okay, I was like, we don't drink. Yeah, that's crap beer here. Amazing, right? It's crap beer. I haven't drank that since college. Back when
This
you
is
didn't
why
know better.
when you go to Shannon, there is only one pub and only one type of beer that you can get at that pub. This is why.
Where's that?
Shannon, Ireland.
We've
Sheridan's
been there.
pub. It's in the airport.
Really?
Uh-huh.
No, we didn't get there.
Yeah, imagine, going in with a military uniform with this name on there. Standing there and the lady's like, I like your name. And I'm like, I want my beer. Well, that'll be blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I ain't paying for this. It's my bar.
So when we all started in this field, we came from a place of unreasonable expectations and altruism, which for good or bad, no longer exists. Volunteerism
I'm sorry, do you mean it no
isn't
longer
a thing anymore.
exists for us or everybody in general? Because
Everybody in
I know it doesn't
And the
exist
folks
for
that
us.
go on social media, and you guys know who you are, who brag that these kids today don't want to work, and because when I was growing up, to afford my house or my apartment, I would work 80 hours a week and get 4 hours of sleep a night. Dude, that's not the brag you think it is.
No.
No, it's not.
You're owning yourself, because over the years you're brainwashed into saying this is what you have to do, and that's really not the case anymore. And more people are realizing that. It's resulting in staffing issues, not just in EMS, but every industry. And eventually there's going to be a tipping point.
We're at it.
We're already past it.
Yeah.
There's an
Big-
agency right down the road that might have enough funding to do another year or two of running calls, and then they're going to have to figure something else out
That way or that way.
that way.
But I mean, that's like I said, is in EMS again. I do think that, and it's not just EMS; it's American culture in general that we pride ourselves on the fact that I worked 3,000 hours last week and I haven't slept in the last 4 years. Like other cultures look at us and they're like, God, you people are stupid.
Yeah.
Where they have a better quality of life, they have a better work-life balance. Why is it in EMS? Where did it become normal to think that you get told, well, don't worry, if I'm not paying you enough, you can work all the overtime you want? Like, Bob, we just bought a house. I didn't buy the house so that I had a place to sleep when I'm not at work. I bought the house so that I had a place to sleep while you do the, yard work and, build me a nice little garden back there.
What do you think this is?
I don't understand your logic. What do you mean we don't get a place to have a bed from when we're not working?
Huh?
Huh?
Yeah, what the hell are you guys talking about?
I said we didn't buy a house so that I had a place just to sleep
Yeah,
so I could
what
go
the
to
fuck
work.
did you get it for then?
So I could go to work. No. I bought the house so I had a place to sleep while he,
While he works.
while he works. Yeah.
Apparently you missed my very thick sarcasm. That's okay.
It's been a rough week. I've been hyped. But why?
Yes, you have been hypoxic. And the
Why?
carbon monoxide levels in this room are not contributing to that.
Why is that
It's a
acceptable?
non-vented heater.
Yeah, it can't be that bad.
Carbon monoxide goes
Allegedly.
down, not up.
It only causes childhood asthma.
Look around. We're all pretty past that point. But
All right, you go ahead and tell my kids that while they're hanging out in that big green box underneath the funny tower. That's on it.
But why did that become, like I said? And yes, okay, we all understand the reimbursement issues, and there has been a significant problem where Sheetz or Dunkin' Donuts has been able to say, well, our people are demanding more money and are demanding better benefits, so you have to pay more. The person at the restaurant, our people want more money, you have to pay more. The person at the grocery store, our people want more money, you have to pay more. EMS. Not only are we not paying you anymore because government and insurance won't reimburse, however, not only will we not pay more, now you got to pay more for that Dunkin' Donuts to keep you going to work your 80 hours a week.
Yeah,
Work for.
But your skills aren't actually worth that much. Why? Because there's somebody out there that will do it for free, and we'll call them, or we'll wait for them to show up. And if they don't show up, they'll send a paid service.
So you'll just go anyway.
Again, so like I said, is what is supposed to be where we can look at it and say it's altruistic and noble that you do this for free. In the end, let's be honest, is it hurting the rest of us for who chose this as a career for whatever stupid reason?
Of course it is.
You know?
Of course it is.
So where's the solution?
I'm going to say the same thing I said 2 weeks ago. Dismantle the insurance pyramids. You take the money out of the equation, see what happens.
Oh, are you saying make healthcare no longer a for-profit industry?
Yeah.
Wow.
The problem I have is if we got rid of the for-profit industry part of healthcare, we're not solving the problem completely, because a lot of the reimbursement rates that we're having issues with are all federal.
There is no solving it completely.
No.
It's because we have 50 independent countries and a couple territories that are throwing their hat in the mix saying we want our cut.
Yeah.
And that greatly influences how everything is dictated across the board. And that boils down to, you know, the backwoods people about an hour and a half away from seeing their primary care physician that's got to wait longer because there's only one guy for, you know, let's just say 10,000 square miles. And
Are you talking about Barnes?
I'm talking about any place outside of a major urban center, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, South Dakota, you name it. There's no money there. There's no physicians there because somebody somewhere else said that we're not going to pay this amount of money, but if you go closer to this area, we'll pay more. But it's, if we take the money out of healthcare, hell with defunding the police, let's defund insurances.
Well, and that's something that has had me puzzled, because it's interesting you say the 50 different countries, because you go to certain places, like how can some states afford an average physician? Like you have places in the, not contiguous, but in the United States, that pay their emergency room physicians 7 figures. 7 figures. How are they able to pay 7 figures, and mid-levels are getting $250,000 to $500,000 a year? How is that state and those private organizations in that state able to pay that much when they're under the same federal system?
Fraud?
No. Alaska, I hate to bring it up again, but Alaska, you go there as a primary care physician, or go there as a trauma physician, you're making over $1 million a year.
Supply and demand.
But where's the money coming from?
Oil.
That goes to the states, not to these other private corporations.
So is the state supplementing them at all?
Not that much. Yeah. Some of these private healthcare entities up there are not funded as much by oil as everybody might think they are.
They're not.
There's a couple of them that directly work for the oil companies, but
You would think that they'd be more funded by like more Department of the Interior stuff
with IHS,
Yeah.
Indian Healthcare System. Yeah.
and also, you know, timber industry.
But that's the thing. Like in you go to Anchorage, where you have 3 different hospitals. One of those hospitals is where all the IHS patients go to, because IHS runs that hospital. But the other 2 hospitals are still paying their physicians 7 figures a year. You know?
So, no, I said, okay, so where do we go from here? Like, Bob, you said we're past that tipping point. Now, let's be honest, we've seen it now for a while, okay? All of the younger people, because we're all old sitting at this table, all the younger people entering EMS who realize if they're not doing it just volunteer, and this is something I like to do, and, you know, hang out with people. If they're not doing it volunteer, what do? They're all getting their nurse or their PA. Okay, they're only using paramedic as a stepping stone. Okay, which one, let's be honest, we are losing look at the skills. They're not going to be evolving into highly trained, experienced providers to pass that knowledge down to the next generation.
Nothing against you, April, by the way.
Davy Jones.
Sorry, hi April. But you want to know something? So, okay.
Davy Jones is wrong. We are the stepping stone.
But, so,
I know that's really pushing it.
okay, but let's think about it. Like, seriously, okay, so you're on a call and you see little bits and pieces and things that aren't in the textbook that we pass down to the younger kids that they're not going to be getting the level of experience we have.
No.
And they're not going to stay in the field. So, okay, we're past the tipping point. So what's it going to take? How many people are going to have to die?
The correct answer is as many as I don't get to.
Well, and it's not the quantity. It's the...
Quality of the person?
Not the quality. No. Not the quantity.
It's not the quality.
It's not the quantity. It's who they know.
The quality of the person.
Who their family is what's
Okay.
going to be.
Hence the quality of the person. The bum on the street,
Yeah.
nobody views him as a quality individual.
No.
Okay? But the politician, they will.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, ironically, when you look at that homeless person on the street, many of whom I'd rather deal with them than, the rich guy in the house. Okay? The sad part is, if the rich guy in the house loses his life, and the guy on the street loses his life,
Are we actually going to be able to solve this particular riddle? Because this is the same argument people have had for, I don't know, 20 centuries.
only 20.
I don't really know how to read, so for a long time, I'm pretty sure slaves and their masters, under Roman or Grecian rule, have had these same arguments.
And Atlantis before that,
So do we encourage the younger generation to leave?
The Illuminati is real.
Do we encourage the younger generation to leave, figuring maybe that'll keep pushing?
No, they're going to do the same thing that we've done and everybody else has done. They're going to say, this is the problem. Well, this is what I have to do to keep my nose clean, keep my head up, and go to work and get a paycheck and go home and make things happen. And then eventually they're going to get sick of it 25 years into it, and they're going to say, no, I really do fucking hate people. And then they'll do a podcast.
A bitter, angry podcast. Well, I guess then we've solved the problem that we're not going to solve the problem, so should we just drink now?
We can't solve this problem because as long as humans value one life over another and not look at all people as truly equal, like the preamble of some document.
It's on the show Bosch I've been watching.
Yeah.
It's on a National Treasure.
It was on Atlanta Housewives or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's on the show Bosch. If no one something
show
about
what?
the show Bosch.
What the hell are we talking about? The company that makes things?
No, we're talking about
Sports
it's a
ones.
show. It's a show on Amazon, based upon the Michael Conley. Everybody matters or nobody matters. He's a homicide detective, and that's their attitude. Everybody matters or nobody matters.
I'm gonna go with the M67 rule on this one.
What's that?
No lives matter.
No lives matter.
Yeah, once you pull that pin, no lives matter. It's a fragmentation grenade.
Hey, did you
Works
see
very
about
well.
Did you see about the guy in Ukraine who the surgeons removed an unexploded grenade from his chest?
Bravo. Those guys seriously have a set of nuts.
Like literally.
I don't know. Everybody's seen the whole Grey's Anatomy episode where the World War II UXO goes off and it, obliterates the EOD guys that are walking. What writer invented this crap that they're literally walking a UXO out of the OR down the hallway and then all of a sudden, boom! What? No, that's what Johnny 5 is for.
Well, I guess this
The
guy.
ID robots.
Yeah, I guess this guy got a grenade stuck in his chest from a grenade launcher.
Oh, yeah.
And they removed it.
Well, the good news is that you
I think-
can do that within relative safety because it's logical to expect that he was within a certain distance of the thing being fired. However, there is a caveat to that being is that for any of these projectile munitions that are meant to explode, there is a certain percentage of them that are designed to fail intentionally because you want them. Yeah. Look at that son of a bitch. Look at that.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. I'd be like, I'll get right on that surgery
Well,
once
see,
I see me my contract and speak
It's
to
a
my
50-50
delegate.
chance of that thing is either you're going to cut it open and get it out there and you're all going to die, or nothing's going to happen. So like I said, well, because some of them are designed to fail, so that way when you go and you move them, like let's say you find it laying on the ground and you go to pick it up, boom, they're designed to do that because that's warfare. Whereas if this thing landed in this guy's chest within the arming distance of this thing flying through the air, which is, for us, our Mark 19 rounds, the 40 millimeter automatic grenade launchers, that we have the munitions armed within 40 meters of being fired. And it uses some kind of telescopic arming mechanism thing, so it fires and whatever. Swamp gases, Coriolis effect, troposphere, looks like a UFO, and then the thing arms. So if this thing landed inside of this guy's chest cavity within the arming distance, it's reasonable to expect that you could probably safely get it out. Now, am I saying you should be all like, hey man, let's throw this thing around like it's a hacky sack? No, that's probably a bad idea. But there is also that chance that this is one of those ones that was designed to be now an IED. And that's one of the things that we, the U.S., have employed with all of our submunitions and shit like that. We design these things to fail because we want somebody's kid to pick them up. Oh my God, did I admit that? Did I just say how we do warfare? Oh, crap. Oh, okay, because the Thai people don't know that. They do.
Well, the easiest way to handle that type of surgery is you look at the guy who's a first-year surgical resident and say, congratulations, you're a full surgeon, go get it.
No, this is why the European Union and all the other nations over there, they have such lax rules about surgeons drinking on the job. Those dudes are probably literally sitting there with like some Stolichnaya or some really cool shit there. It's like, fuck it, I go in.
I put the X-ray image up of it, and here is the image of the actual piece that was. Oh, I don't want to do that.
Look at this guy.
See, I think they would have made sure it was Ukrainian vodka, not Russian vodka.
Look at that. He's just got his finger right.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Quick, open up the window, right?
Wait a minute. So.
Like, that is some serious
Are we
balls.
indicating that they did the surgery without gloves?
Well, I mean, those
His
might
hand's
be
not
real
bloody.
thin gloves.
National Registry is not for you, sir.
You can't be an EMT.
It's Soviet Russia. Fuck, that is PSI.
PSI is medicine safe. No.
The answer is yes. Fuck it, I go in.
Like, seriously, that was pretty, that was, yeah.
Crap.
Rinse it off and reuse it, Mike says.
No. No. Our CBS does not make a self-cutting dye for that.
Like, that, like, literally, that's mind-boggling, that, yeah. Like, yeah.
So yeah, the only thing that's going to fix it is single-payer, not-for-profit healthcare. So we're the only developed nation left in the world that doesn't have that.
Of course, NHS, paramedics, again, going on strike.
Then what happens? Will we experience the same problems that Canada, England, everybody else is with a single system like that?
Yeah, but I mean, let's be fair. We're experiencing those problems now. When it takes 15 hours in an ER to see a provider,
Bravo.
Yeah. 24
There's
hours.
a case I was just reading online this morning. This hospital's being sued because their 25-year-old son died in an ER because they wouldn't see him for 7 hours. So
I don't think I'm allowed to say anything about anything on the local level that may or may not resemble that, but not exactly a male or no specific age, but goddamn non-disclosure laws and shit.
and then you hear all the horror stories, and it usually comes out of Canada where you hear the stories. It's because Canada is as spread out as the United States is, where
Did you say Wilkes-Barre?
Or that, yeah. You know, where a patient requires a diagnostic procedure and they're waiting months on end to get it, or they have to travel several hours away to have it done.
Okay, look at Kim's dad, what Kim was talking about. Okay, one of my dearest friends, Kim, she's Canadian by birth. Her dad, when I met her 20 years ago, he had both hips replaced. He was 60 at the time. Okay, and in Canada.
What are they doing up there?
And he needs them replaced again. Why? Because he's 80. And what did they say? They said, well, it's going to be an 8-year wait. It's an 8-year wait. She's like, my dad's going to be 88, 89, will even be here. So what she's looking at is she found a hospital in Montana, because he's on that side of Canada, Montana, that it's $15,000 package deal. She's like, I'll write the check down.
Wait, could she afford that?
She's a travel nurse, not a paramedic.
Yeah, whatever. We're talking about U.S. money, not Canadian.
Yes, but she's a travel nurse, not a paramedic. If she were a paramedic, she'd be like, sucks to be you, Dad. Okay? You know, again, if she were a paramedic, she'd be like, well, you could limp. So, I mean, Canada, like I said, I remember the one time her dad, who drove a tractor trailer, went to the one clinic, he wasn't feeling well. The nurse did the 12 lead, said, I don't know how to read this, but if you go to the next, town over, you'll find a doctor there. Here, take this to him. And he was in a 3rd-degree heart block, driving his tractor trailer.
And even with a universal health care plan modeled after the NHS, the first responders in the UK are on the verge of striking now.
They are, yeah.
Because
So-
Lack of money.
Right. So,
Well, the reality is, though, and this is true for a lot of the world, is the problem is we don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. Okay, people don't call us as paramedics because they're healthy. Okay?
Okay, Lauren, love
They-
you logging in.
They call us because they're sick. And they're sick for multiple reasons that are, it's multifactorial as to why Americans and the rest of the world, they're sick. It's not healthy to do the same job for 50 hours a week. Repetitive injuries, things like that.
and it's not just money and reimbursement too. The overall health care in the United States is
Don't do
is
something
in
50
crisis.
hours a week, Bob.
So
It's that repetitive.
somebody moves from Europe or otherwise to the United States, they automatically have a 10-year less life expectancy. They automatically have a maternal mortality rate that's 4 times higher than the rest of the world.
Infant mortality here compared to the rest of the world,
So,
industrial world.
yep.
So again, but it's look at our culture. Like I said, when we were in Italy, and I pointed out they had 4 people on the truck to carry people, and my comment to you was,
And an elevator.
yeah, I said they had 4 people on an ambulance to carry patients, and my comment to you was the only people in Italy who are fat are us Americans on vacation.
Right.
Oh yeah, they eat pasta every day and they're not fat.
Yeah,
That's just
clearly
wrong.
You've never been up by the Czech border.
Well,
A little chunky.
I'm just saying. Gewürztraminer is delicious.
it's also a much colder climate too, so you gotta consider that.
Can you actually find an Edelweiss there? Is it actually an Edelweiss if you're on the Italian side? Probably not. I don't know. But I'm still putting it in my hat.
Edelweiss is made up flour.
No, it's not.
That was made up flour.
No, it's a real. The song was made up.
Oh, okay.
People think the song Edelweiss from The Sound of Music, they think it's like the actual national anthem. No, they made it up for the show.
Right, I knew the song was made up specifically for
But
that.
Edelweiss is a real
The
flower.
German mountain special forces literally have to climb to the top of the Alps using their mountaineering skills that they learned. And they, to this day, and this is a tradition that started long before, they have to pick an Edelweiss and they have to put it in their hat and make it all the way back down to their base camp, and that's how they pass and get their special certification.
You have to
in
sing
which-
while they do it.
I don't know, listen, Remember those dudes from the Google Shred that were at Fort Indian Town Gap? They had a couple dudes that had the Edelweiss in their berets that they were no bullshit real mountain troops, and you're like, why the fuck are you guys hanging out with us? This is a Pennsylvania national joke.
Well, that's the whole concept that 10th Mountain was supposed to be originally. Now they're just like.
Yeah, this is when those guys were down at the Gap. Though.
Yeah,
why would you send them to Fort Indian Town Gap? Oh man, this is where we have our special troops. They all take short buses to drill.
See, now I like when it comes to uniforms. I like the Swiss Guard uniforms. Like those guys, come on, those guys have to be like top to get that job, and then we dress them like something out of a cartoon because
usability.
So you want your mercenary
The poofy striped
force
pants?
to go out and wear clown uniforms. Understood.
Well, that's just it. It's an amazing, like you said, they're amazing outfits, and then you're like, but I wouldn't think that you could hurt me in that outfit.
Well, they all do know how to use every single weapon in their inventory, including those fucking halberds. Which, if the Polish cavalry were to mount an offensive against the Vatican, I'm sure the halberd-wielding Swiss mercenaries would do well to defend the cathedral.
Tom Hanks will help him though.
Quick! I found a pipe. We put it with this.
What people don't realize is the Papal States, they used to actually go to war. Like they were a country and they went to war with people.
Well, yeah, but that's only because they modified the Roman system of warfare and government and translated that over to Christianity because of the money involved. But
Something like that, right?
listen, I don't know anything about anything. All I do, I drive an ambulance.
Yeah, as you said, we're ambulance drivers around here, not paramedics,
So
right?
we're not real people.
Interesting fact I just found.
Uh-oh.
Did you know that the survival rate in the United States, being born as an infant, is the same basically as it is in Bosnia-Herzegovina?
Yes. Mm-hmm. The infant mortality in public health is actually considered.
Oh, I know, but I'm.
Yes, but
Wait a minute.
it's actually considered the most. If you want to look at the health of a society in public health, you are taught to look at your infant mortality. Yeah. And the reason for that is because infant mortality takes so many factors in. It takes maternal mortality, it takes in whether or not the mother's smoking while she's pregnant, what her nutrition is she getting shot, things like that.
But that's basically everyone in Bosnia.
Yeah, but infant mortality in the U.S. for decades now has hovered around 6. So that's 6 babies out of every 1,000. Now the African American babies, it's always double that. So about 12 babies out of every 1,000 don't make 1 year.
But Cuba's got better.
Yes. But if you look at like Sweden and those countries, they're like 1.
Well, Luxembourg is 3.25.
Yeah.
Belarus is 3.27. Yeah.
Okay, believe it or not, that number's gone up. Those numbers have gone up, which you gotta wonder maybe again RSV everything. But
well, the United States has gone down to 5.2.
Ooh, we're doing great.
But
Stand by. Let's go back to what you said about the whole comparable to Bosnia thing. So you're telling me that Drina's, not only is it a river, but it's also a very popular local cigarette brand.
It also was the site of many.
We're not talking about that.
Okay.
We're not talking about
Okay.
that.
No fucking check.
The Hague is over. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I mean, seriously, when you see the turbines of this dam, you're like, how the hell many bodies did it take to jam those up?
Yeah.
These things were designed to cut up trees that fell in and like, what? That's a lot of people. Man.
With chipper on overload. But yes, the survival infant mortality rate. Yep.
Based on that, if we're doing comparisons, you're telling me Drinas are comparable to Marlboros now.
Yes. Yep.
Are they filtered?
Syria, 15.87.
I have smoked some very interesting cigarettes across this planet.
Let's go up to the top.
Now,
Let's see who's at the
Syria,
top.
15.87. Did they take in how many, again, Assad, whether or not he gassed the babies, because
Oh no,
Maybe.
no, he did.
yeah, we know it did. It's
But-
I always use
but-
the videos and.
But who's
weapons of
number
mass
one right now
destruction.
for infant mortality rate? Afghanistan. So 1/10 of their babies born die. So
Like I said, again, U.S. for years has been number 37 on overall health,
Yeah.
but throw in the fact that we spend the most per citizen on our health.
Yeah, because of insurance.
well, also, I mean, this country or this data. Obviously, I'm looking at biased data here. I'm not sharing it on the screen, but
So for the infant mortality rate in Bosnia, is that because they start early infancy smoking?
maybe might be because they're starting to strain their tea a little bit more. I don't know. But Haiti, 40.02.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news for Haiti. They really are in geographically the worst possible location at the convergence of the warm climates and the cool waters of the North Atlantic
Yeah.
and rapidly circulating winds that
And then the ground starts moving on top of that.
And throwing cholera.
well, they telling you don't shit where you eat.
Cutter.
It's this whole camouflage thing. I don't understand.
What's that?
Which one?
I mean, you go in the desert. I can't see you. It's like stripes and plaids for me. If you're gonna go to war, make a statement. If you're gonna fight, clash.
He's talking about this.
That's British. That's British warfare.
Again, I'm sorry. You watch shows like the old movies like Braveheart or things like that, where you yelled, screamed, and carried on, and then you went up and you had to face the guy and put a bayonet at him. Those are men.
We had a generation of those guys, and they came back really emotionally disturbed.
Okay, so we
France.
we cutting here, or are we gonna keep going?
Yeah, I was just taking a quick break.
Oh,
Years ago.
urination. Sludge 'em.
They actually had true shell shock.
Well, we just called it that because we didn't know what the hell to call it. I mean, how do you sit there and say, I had this 6 foot long thing, and on the end of it, I sometimes stuck humans.
And then my feet rotted off.
So, how was your guys' Christmas? Well, I didn't get shot. Well, Timmy got to do a new bicycle. Oh, jolly. We didn't get mortared. Oh, wait, we did. Holy crap.
Well, look at the guys at Normandy.
But that, you're talking, okay, for the
But they got off that.
for the amount of intensity that you have for that one particular engagement, what the men and women who were on the front lines during the First World War throughout France, Luxembourg, Belgium, everything.
The Somme.
That is a completely different disparity because you're literally staring hopelessly in the face. Whereas for Normandy, we knew if we don't push as hard as we can to get this foothold in, it will cost millions of lives more for this effort for us to succeed and to defeat this enemy. So we knew we had to throw bodies on top of that. And every single man that landed on those shores to get inland to gain a foothold, they knew that. They knew what was coming. They knew the cost.
I think, there was a patient up the Abingtons area I met the one time where I was there first before BLS showed up. I don't even remember who the BLS person was, but the guy was in his 90s. This was a few years ago. And the EMT gets there and you start, kind of like the pops, talking to him like this man's never seen anything. The man was actually a medic for D-Day. But hey, he's old, so he's done nothing with his life, and let's not show him any respect. Let's just talk like, hey, Pops, how you doing? Like he's nothing but a burden on our society. Like when you see people talk like that to elderly people, and it's like, what, do you think they were always old? You don't think they did some stuff? you don't think they saw stuff? And I said to the EMT afterwards, he's like, do you know this guy? Because I've run on him before and I've talked to him several times. This man has saw more in a short period of his life than the rest of us will ever want to see. And and again, it was kind of like, but he taught him, he talked to him like you're just a burden on society. That whole bit, well, what can we do for you today, Pops? Or what, that whole attitude. And I'm like, you're only here. You're not asking him, what can we do for you today, Pops? You're asking him in English, not German, because of this man.
Yeah.
And I think that's always, it irritates me when they don't see that there was a whole lifetime these people lived before this moment that you got them.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm the person to say anything about this.
No.
No.
That wave guide outside that's aimed at your house, is that where the thing that's coming from?
What's that?
That wave guide outside is aimed at your house?
Wave guy.
The Unity antenna, I mean.
Oh no, that's his mine's right here.
Oh, okay.
Right outside the window.
Doesn't sound like we're under fire anymore.
What's that?
Doesn't sound like we're under fire anymore with that
Well,
guy.
yeah, because they ran out of...
They have to reload their magazines.
Yeah. Hello, that's why
What
I
time
drive
is it?
around
They're
with-
probably getting ready to eat dinner. I'm gonna open a window.
So what other topics do you want to discuss
70
today,
some
or is that
degrees.
about it? Anybody? Any questions? Any thoughts?
76 degrees in here, I'll tell you that.
It's okay, we can't hear anyone anyway.
No, they're typing. I don't have their audio turned on, and April's the only one on Zoom anyway. Nobody's saying anything, typing anything.
I know,
Even
right?
you, Procopa?
Mike's still asleep.
Well, he asked, what about the guy that died in Danville in the bathroom was found by the housekeeper?
Huh?
Well, that's every place.
Oh yeah. Or should I turn it up?
Well, I mean, there's pretty much mud and grass outside of the window, so if we bail out, it'll be soft. It'll hurt. It'll be soft-ish. Yeah, we really don't know what's underneath the topsoil. Could be shale.
So once again, we have failed to solve any problems, and come up
We're
with
not
any
going to
solutions.
solve anything. The only thing we're going to do is continue to bring these issues to the forefront in hopes that
Smarter
it'll
people
persuade
solve them.
somebody else to choose a different career path. No, really, you should develop film for Kodak. What's that? Traveling circus balloon inflator. Wait a minute, but they have 401k. Clearly EMS sucks. I'm gonna go blow up balloons for the circus. Wait, do we even have those anymore? Circuses? Or do we just call them Republicans and Democrats?
Yeah, CHS.
Yep, I'm getting quickly put on a do not watch list for every national convention.
Speaking English, did you see that guy George Santos? What he's being accused of now? The congressman, you know who he is. He's like fabricated everything. Well, apparently there was a disabled vet whose dog needed surgery. His support dog. And apparently George Santos, under another name he went by, raised $3,000 on GoFundMe and then wouldn't give the guy the money. Do you know what an asshole you have to be to steal money from a disabled vet support dog, dying support dog?
Actually, I don't know about politicians, however. Back to the whole local level scene. Yeah, I do know what kind of a shitbag you have to be to steal money from vets after raising money for them.
Okay, once we're off the air, I'm just going to ask you for the details of that story. I I mean, again, we are talking about an area where Air America Coke ring.
There we go. There's a story right there for you.
But
Put it on the thing. George Santos took $3,000 from dying dog's GoFundMe, I should say.
And it was a pit bull. Oh, we fucking hate that guy.
yeah, he was.
I'm sorry.
Red-nosed
Pit bulls
pit
are
bull.
great dogs. Oh yeah, you can tell. Look at the nose. And I know everyone's gonna sit there. Oh, there are no specific breeds. Red nose, blue. Shut up. One has a red nose. The other has a blue nose. We just use it as a distinguishing feature, Mark. God damn it.
Jesus was a refugee. Okay. I'm not gonna play the video that I shared with everybody.
Do you want to watch the news sunrise each morning? No. Because here's what happened. Another politician got caught with a sex scandal. Another politician got caught bilking insurance companies for more blah, blah, blah. Another politician, another politician, another politician. Oh, by the way, this homeless guy saved a cat out of a tree. We know what the news is.
And yet you
We want.
re-elected the same people again and again and again.
Not if you don't vote.
How else do you get the little sticker though?
I can
What
print them.
sticker?
Oh, that's good.
I can print them for you.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
a printing machine at home. Get your sticker. You know what? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start broadcasting from my my SkyPad Pro. You know, I use my cell phone and I'm gonna broadcast from the range, and I'll be shooting at targets and moving, and then doing treatment skills.
Oh.
Maybe. I think I just want to get dirty and shoot at things. I think that's what was really going on here. And obviously, I won't be fielding questions.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why?
No.
Put a headset
No,
on.
this is not the fuck. No. We don't do that shit in the. No. This is not Lane's training ish. Alright, now for our Saturday's
Oh, here's
I
podcast.
thought we were doing arts and crafts today,
Right?
right?
Yeah, hello. I have all kinds of hole pushers.
perfect. We will probably discuss this next time.
The ink.
April, I did get your thing.
What does she want us to do?
Discuss this impact of administrating buprenorphine to overdose survivors using emergency medical services.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to do that one for the next webisode.
Yes. I got your study printed out, or I got it here available to print out, actually.
I have a feeling that the reason why
There, I just printed it out. It's on my printer up at the house a couple hundred feet away.
I have a feeling the reason why it's not as popular is the same reason as we're not doing whole blood or even the artificial blood pre-hospitally.
Yeah,
And it
that's a whole
all
nother
comes
thing.
down to money.
People don't realize that blood costs money.
What?
Yeah.
No.
You go donate.
Huh?
Shocking.
Hmm?
Shocking.
Yeah.
No, that's a completely different type of medicine, Bob. Stay with the
Oh,
conversation.
okay.
Because I brought that up to somebody, I was like, if we were putting blood, we would have had to buy the blood. And, the whole blood especially, we'd have to buy. And unless you're part of a hospital system where you can rotate it out and get it from them, you're paying for the blood.
And now you have to pay for the disposal of the unused product.
Yeah.
Yay,
And-
more money.
But I donate it to the Red Cross. Well, yeah, but the Red Cross is making money off of it.
Uh-huh.
So,
You think those bologna sandwiches are free?
Well, there's the whole processing, testing. People, like, again, when we were giving the COVID shots repeatedly, I mean, at first they just ate the whole cost of everything, all the clinics. And then they started saying, we're going to bill your insurance. And a lot of people got offended with us saying, well, wait a minute. This vaccine was paid for by my tax dollars. Okay, but there's somebody here standing here going, and I need a light to do this, and it's there's a lot of administration
logistics
costs.
itself is just
Yeah.
ridiculous amount of money.
Money. Bernie Sanders is up in arms because Moderna wants to charge money for their vaccines now.
I think one of the greatest lines that I've ever seen in my entire life comes from the movie The Green Berets with John Wayne, when they're sitting there trying to explain to the Montagnard chief the concept of money, and Sergeant Beckworth is tasked with the Master Sergeant to explain to this chief, you help us out and we'll give you money. the Montagnard chief looks at him and he goes, "What's money? Where's that world? Why can't we have that world?"
But that was the problem we ran into in other countries.
Yeah.
Well, the U.S. government, let's give them money. Let's give them money. That's not what certain individuals wanted. You give them a generator, you give them farm equipment, you give them heads of cattle, or you give them heads of goats. Well, I'm not talking about the sex trade here. But
Was it the head they were interested in for the goats?
Well, I'm sure they were interested in the head from goats, but...
I mean, don't goats have teeth? I'm just saying.
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you that. But understanding the value system and what's valuable to one group of people.
A goat provides milk to give your children, and you can make cheese with it and things like that. Money, if there's no store, how long? Money means nothing to you.
I give you, millions of dollars if you're living in the middle of the desert, but what are you going to do with that millions of dollars?
Yep.
Buy a camel?
Can we go back to like shells, pretty shells from the beach counting?
Nope.
No, because then I'll always be thinking of one specific movie where there are 3 seashells.
You don't know how to use the 3 seashells. Thanks a lot, Rob.
But it's okay. Or I'm going to point something out. Apparently, EMS providers decided that we don't need money, we need pizza
Yes.
for
Well,
our value system.
same with the hospitals. Nurses decided they need pizza.
Friend of mine works as a chef for the University of Scranton, and she said her problem is whenever they decide they want to improve morale and do a pizza party, she has to make the goddamn pizzas. She's like, it doesn't improve my morale when they walk in and say, I need 20 trays. But I mean, think about it. That's our value. EMTs and paramedics will show up anywhere for pizza and a free t-shirt.
Paychecks. We'll show up for paychecks.
Well, problem is, this is a new value system where we're starting to realize we need cash.
I'll take your cash in the form of a pound of salt. I'm going back to the Roman legion.
Yes, I was just going to say.
You can pay me in honey or salt. Either or.
It's where the word salary came from.
Mm-hmm. Salt mines.
Salary came from salt.
Uh-huh. And salt is universally tradable.
Mm-hmm. Until it rains, and then you're just fucked.
Well, I don't know.
That's why I love all those old world.
I'm a salty NCO, but I never melted in the rain.
Salt. Accurate as shit.
The problem is we're going to show up at work next week, and instead of a paycheck, they're going to be like, here's a thing of Morton's with a little salt kernel.
Whatever. You pay me the comparable amount of salt worth what you would have paid me in American cash.
Mike said, well, he wants to know why the blood was in a 5-gallon bucket.
Does it matter, Mike?
But he also said he will work for the Heroes Work Here sign in the front yard.
Oh, man. Wow.
Okay,
Take the salt.
but Mike, we're going to give you a Heroes Work sign, Heroes Work Here, but we're going to take the R out.
If it'll make you feel better, I'll drive down to West Pittston and get you a Heroes Work sign for free.
Heroes Work Here. You don't have to worry about any problems with, high taxes going up, on the wealthy.
Where's Zadzura? We need Zadzura for this one.
Yeah.
Used to do that.
Okay, so I think we are going to call it a day because I think some people want to do some
Arts and crafts.
Arts and crafts.
So, with that being said,
Arts and crafts.
gonna tell everybody adieu. And,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
2 weeks.
We're gonna start developing this a little bit more and hopefully get all the audio visual shit working the right way. But other than that, have a good day. They can still hear us too, by the way, as a mic still.
Yeah, we know.
Arts and crafts.
Do you have any other credits you can roll?
I'm gonna put credits in here because the video's playing right now.
People that'll learn.